Guys, I want to welcome you to another episode of the Franchise Advisory Board, where we bring in experts from across the community to share insights and best practices that will help you build a memorable and thriving franchise brand. Now, I have with me a really good friend of mine, Jim Stapleton. You may have seen us palling around, running crazy karaoke groups, or generally at conferences. Jim presents an awful lot, but he's the VP of Franchise Development at Caring Transitions, which is the largest senior relocation and resale of household goods brand. Super cool concept. I actually have been on their bidding site and bought stuff before I even knew Jim. Anyway, you got to check them out. But he's just a pro. Like he's been in sales for 30 years, been in FranDev for the last six. He's helped more than double the size of this franchise system since he got there. And but he's also the reason I want him here is he's it's not his karaoke skills. So he's the karaoke king of Buffalo, New York, and Cincinnati now. That's the latest title. And but he's an incredible thinker, and he looks like he might be like a fullback, or something like that. But he's really talented in regards to helping people understand fear and sales strategy and franchise development. He just funneled all of his knowledge and experience into our industry. So I want to get his insights there. But you also need to know that he's a family guy. He's got a 13-year-old that he loves. If you watch his LinkedIn feed at all, you'll see these incredible insights he drops for his son that hopefully become a book or something, Jim. Hopefully that's the project intent. But married for 20 years, loves gardening and woodworking. You wouldn't know this stuff, honestly, unless you get a chance to know him. But Jim, tell us just a little bit more about you, about Caring Transitions, and then we'll jump into our topic today.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. I'm really excited to be here talking to you about this. There's been, so many times that when we were at a conference or something like that, we go over this stuff. We just roll naturally into this, right? And it's like, man, we should be recording.
Yeah.
So I'm glad to be able to actually jump on and actually record some of this. Yeah, I mean, I've been as you mentioned, I've been in sales for about 30 years. I mean, I got professionally sales trained at one of my first jobs doing door-to-door insurance sales, knocking on someone's door, getting the house the old-fashioned way, selling life insurance and disability and things like that way back in the day, man. That was my trial by fire. And I can tell you, man, as hard as that was, I wouldn't be here right now if it wasn't for that experience, right?
Mhm.
Also, beyond karaoke, I did 8 years of musical theater over in Buffalo. So I was in Jesus Christ Superstar 5 times, West Side Story. I was in Tony Tina's wedding twice. So, that's I just
Yeah.
love being on stage, performing, but also, being able to drop knowledge. I've for me, self-development is so important. I'm always trying to attend a conference or read a book or trying to learn more. I'm just a sponge, from everything that, I've learned over the past 30 years and then being able to add on top of it. The part of sales that I absolutely love is that psychological part. Why do people make the decision they make? You know, I believe as salespeople, we're not just here to, be order takers. We're not here just to be able to give them exactly what they're looking for, exactly what they want, because sometimes we can't. What we are truly are influencers.
Yeah.
We don't force somebody to make a decision, but we can definitely influence them to make a choice that's going to either better change their lives or give them something that is more than what they have now.
Yeah.
This is the reason I love training, because people that are sitting in front of you, even if they can drop one piece, that they're like, oh my God, I never thought of it that way. That makes the whole conversation worth it.
Totally agree. I found I had an early career in teaching. I was teaching language fluency, and I just love that experience of helping people get it. Like the light, you see the click, and they're like, and then they move, they do something
Right.
with it. Then I find sales to be very much the same. It's an educational process. It's a development process. I'm helping you improve by helping you buy something, but ultimately, we have the same shared goals. We're going to help you get from here to there, and,
Yep.
and I know you see it the same way.
Yeah.
Now,
And it's
Jim,
responsible. You know what I mean? Once again, we're not forcing somebody into something. We're not, I tell people at the time, I'm not going to push a, square peg through a round hole. It's for us, especially with franchising, it's an interview process. I tell people all the time, as much as you're looking at us, we're looking at you. But
Mhm.
here's the difference is we absolutely mean that.
Yeah.
We sold 79 franchises last year, but we turned 13 people away that weren't the right fit. You
Yeah.
know, it's not, we're not, definitely not the, oh, you have a pulse in a checkbook. Okay. Yeah. Come on in. Right.
Yeah.
For us, it's just as important to, bring good people in, but also our responsibility to have people leave the system too that have something that they can sell and they can grow and then be able to sell for a profit, once they're done.
Yeah.
once they decide to move on to something different. So
Yes, but wealth building, legacy building, it's all here. That's why I love franchising, man. So Jim, one of the things that we didn't talk about is you're kind of obsessed with self-development, but you've been to Tony Robbins 5 times now, is that right?
5 times, yeah. So uh, we've gone and seen him, my best friend and I, from Buffalo. So we've gone across the United States. We even went to London to work one of the events.
Hmm.
Done 2 barefoot fire walks. And you want to talk about life-changing experience, man. As soon as that happened, and it's like the light bulb went on, and it's like, man, if I can do that, I do anything.
Yeah.
It's like, now stop me from hitting any goal I have. Because for me, if it's legal, moral, and ethical, nothing's going to stop me from hitting the goal I have in front of me, right?
Yeah. And that's what we want to talk about today, right? The topic, this is a fun meandering trail to get to the point, but like
Right.
we are going to talk about fear and how fear how do we help people overcome their fear to make the choice to buy a franchise?
Yep.
And this is all inspired by something you posted months and months ago. It just took us a while to get on the schedule, but why don't we talk about that for a second? Because fear, if you can break it down for us, Jim, like this is like a bioscience thing as much as it is an emotional thing. Help us break down this concept of fear in the mind. Like how does the human brain interact and create this emotion that then prevents people from doing things that are actually really good for them?
Yeah. I mean, well, here's one of the things I learned at Tony Robbins is that our emotions control everything. You've heard different people, titans of industry, and some other in the past, the Henry Ford that said, "You think you can, or you think you can't, you're right." Right.
Hmm. Yeah.
Napoleon Hill wrote "Think and Grow Rich."
Hmm.
It's and we buy an emotion and keep because of logic. Okay, there's a reason that it's called "Think and Grow Rich" and not "Work really hard and grow rich." Follow a process and grow rich. Right?
Yeah.
Why is it that? Because it all starts up here. Everything, I mean, sales itself everything that's in between your ears. It's whatever you think it is what it's going to manifest itself to be, right?
Hmm.
So if it's a problem, guess what? It's going to come out as a problem. It's whatever's there, right? So when it comes to fear is what we have to understand is fear is one of the most primal instincts we have.
Hmm.
You
Yeah.
know, our prehistoric ancestors needed fear to be able to survive, right? Is that something moving in the bushes? Oh, I got to stay away from this fire because it's too hot.
Yeah.
It's for survival. Nowadays, fear is making sure you look both ways before crossing the street. So it's not that, it's as prevalent, but guess what, man? It's still there. It
Hmm.
didn't go away just because our circumstances in our lives change. It's just a different dynamic that we use it in now.
Hmm.
So I read the book Start With Why, Simon Sinek,
Yeah.
and he talks about the development of the brain. So he talks about, the prehistoric part of our brain called the
And big.
limbic part,
Yeah.
where all the emotions are built. I mean, prehistoric man was all, emotion was their main driver. And then we have the neocortex part of our brain with the thinking and reasoning
Hmm.
as we evolved into the creatures we are now. But the thing is we are all still driven by emotions. So one of the things I always like to talk about, we're talking about fear, but the other main driver in our lives is love.
Hmm.
And love is one of the most powerful emotions that we actually have. Both of these have nothing to do with logic, but they drive our lives, right? You've got a beautiful wife. You've been married for years and years.
Hmm.
I'm sure when you met your wife, you weren't doing a checklist in your head of like, okay, I want three kids, and she works, this job, and so it's going to give us a steady income. No, there were things that she did, and sometimes they're small things. If I was
Hmm.
going to ask you to pinpoint the day and time that you fell in love with your wife, you probably couldn't, right?
No.
It was we this is the reason why they say we fall in love with things. So, with people, with things we buy, with vacations and memories,
Hmm.
this is exactly what we are, right?
Yeah.
But when it comes to fear, it's kind of the same thing, right? It's we associate different logical things with fear, but it's a non-logical response to things.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. And because of that, and this is the challenge in all sales, right? Like I've been in sales for but actually not quite as long as you, although technically since I was 5, but that's a different story for another
You
time.
go back that far.
Yeah, but but we because of fear though, like many deals, I would say many deals, especially in franchise development, they're stifled because of this limbic region creating conflict and the people not living in the neocortex and like making logical decisions that so so how do we help people break the loop? Like, well, first, how do you know? Like you've been doing this for 6 years, but been doing sales forever. How can you identify when somebody's got fear that's a prime motivator for their behavior? That's kind of, I think, step one here.
Yeah, I mean, what I train my team on is, especially in franchise sales, this isn't a sit at the table, spend an hour with somebody and they're writing you a check, right? I mean, if somebody was able to read the FDD, wait 15 days, and then, pay for a franchise, there'd be no need for any of us.
Right.
Us as sales professionals, we're influencers. I got to keep on reminding my team this, we're taking people on this journey, right? So I always use an analogy when it comes to this journey itself is, people are climbing the high dive.
Hmm.
So if you've ever stood in the end of a high dive, the higher you go, the scarier it is, right? So they're climbing the ladder as we taking them through an intro call, taking them through a territory, taking them through the education, taking them through FTD. And as we're getting there, the higher and higher they're going, right? So
Yeah.
finally, we can bring them in to meet our team or do it virtually. Now they're walking on the end of the high dive. Now they're on the end of the diving board where they have to make a decision. But the problem is, the longer they stand on the end of that diving board and they're looking down and they're like, you're allowing them to think, wow, this is really high. Oh
Yeah.
my God, is the water cold? It's really windy up here. Am I going to survive the fall? There's a
Yeah.
lot of questions that start, churning in their head,
Mm.
and it's all fear based. It has nothing to do with reality because everything they want is in that pool. Every single thing they want that they've told you what their why was, and everything that's going to change their life for their family, for their future, for their community is right there.
Yeah.
They have to jump.
Mm.
I can't push them in the pool. They got to take that jump. And here's the thing: if they in a franchise system, if they hit the water and they start drowning, guess what? We got lifeguards that'll jump in and save them.
Yeah.
So this we as influencers have to be able to if they're looking in the closet that there's a big scary monster in there, we got to be able to turn the light on.
Mhm.
Be able to show them, no, it's just a pile of laundry.
Yeah.
It's not an actual monster in there. It
Right.
looks scary right now, but it's bringing it into the light to say, yeah, really, listen, we got a solution.
Mhm.
This is what we're going to be able to help you do. Now, if you're going to do it on your own, yeah, there are probably a lot of pitfalls you're going to fall into. But
Yeah.
guess what? We're your GPS. We're going to get you from point A to point B. Come up with a plan and tell you exactly where to bob and weave to be able to
Mhm.
get you exactly what you want.
Yeah, and that's a real challenge. So especially for a guy like me, where I was 11 years old and I fell off the ladder of a high dive and hit my chin on the concrete and split it
Mm,
open. But I've gone off, I've jumped, I love high dives, so I still go off them. But
yeah.
like this idea of how identifying, like when you know, you know someone's letting fear hold them back. Things that I've observed are like they start throwing excuses. They're like they stop keeping commitments. Like there are things that you see on the outside that represent something that's happening on the inside. Now sometimes people have true emergencies and crazy things happening. It seems like statistically more in FranDev sales cycles than any other sales cycle I've ever seen before across a lot of industries. But what are some of the key indications that you and your team see in franchise development where you're like, uh-oh, fear's got this guy or this gal? Like, what do you see on the outside?
One of the gentlemen that is an investor with strategic franchising. I love talking to him. He's a sales guy through and through.
Hmm.
He's got a term. He says, "You feed the dream and starve the fear."
Hmm.
If the dream is a main focus, and this is exactly what they want, then the fear goes down, right? But
Hmm.
you have to elevate this. You have to really feed into it. It's kind of like painting this picture for them. I talk to my team all the time. Listen, we don't sell on terms and conditions,
Hmm.
right? You're stuck in the T's and C's. Then guess what? You're that's sticking with the logic. I talk about all the time about being in your head or being in your heart. People buy from here.
Hmm.
They
Yeah.
don't buy from here. So if people are giving you those excuses, and statistically, the first three objections that somebody gives you are not the real objections. So
Hmm.
false objections.
Yeah.
That's not the real reason that they're not buying from you. It usually falls into two different things. They don't have the money or they want to think about it.
Yeah.
Now, time kills deals. We've heard this from 1,000 different people, right?
Yeah.
So the longer you go in your process to be able to extend this out, then the more of a chance that they're not going to make a decision, or they're going to make a decision to go back to what's comfortable. With us, it's a lot of the times, people are coming from corporate. People are coming from a 9 to 5. This is their first time looking at a franchise. The people that come to us aren't the big investors that have 4 McDonald's and a couple KFCs in their portfolio and going to add a carrying transitions, right?
Right. Yeah.
Especially a lot of emerging brands, it's the same thing. They're getting people that this is the first time they've ever even explored this.
Right.
So for us, it's all about being able to show them exactly what this is, take them on this journey, paint this picture for them so it becomes real. They have to be by the end of it, they have to be able to close their eyes and see themselves walking into the store, working with the team, doing a consultation, doing the service itself. And
Mhm.
with us, being a service-based industry, there is no building, there is no inventory, there are no trucks.
Mhm.
So us, we sell this. I'm gonna show you again because you missed it.
Yeah. I see.
It's literally air, right? So
Yeah.
we got to really build this dream of ownership. This is what your day in the life is going to look like. You
Mhm.
know, I always use the analogy. Have you ever watched Bob Ross paint?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
when he first starts, he's throwing on colors, right? Bing, 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 bing. Not really sure like what this is or what it's supposed to come out to, but as he adds the paint on,
Mhm.
then you're like, oh, okay, there's no clouds. Oh, okay, that's a mountain. All right,
Mhm.
there's an ice scape. Oh, here comes the river. Here are the happy trees,
Yeah.
right? This is what we need to be able to do as influencers in this is as we, go through our intro call and start in the education piece, everything's got to layer on top of each other.
Mhm.
So by the end of it, they get this clear picture of exactly what it is, how it works. And guess what? That fear factor goes way down and the excitement goes up
Yeah.
at that point.
Yeah. So I love that. You mentioned starve the fear, build the dream. I
Yeah.
think that's a really good example of how to do that. And you mentioned this, so I want to come back to it because it's funny. Objection handling is it's it's a real thing in sales. You got to be able to get the real objection and then help the consumer understand and actually tell you how they're going to resolve it. You
Yeah.
can't just solve it. I wish being a guy, I just want to fix crap all the
Right.
time, but it's not that easy. So tell us like this objection process when you're talking to somebody and they're throwing up smoke screens or it feels like they are like how do you carve through the smoke screens and find the real objection that people are struggling with?
It's we actually just had this with one of my directors. She pulled me on a call because this woman was just stuck in the mud, spinning her wheels, and she couldn't get outside of this objection that she had. She was stuck here. So I told her, I'm like, how do we move her from here to here?
Hmm.
A lot of the times it's, just being totally upfront with them. So when I was on the call and she's given every objection under the sun, I need to know how much I'm going to make. I need to know what my team's going to look like. I need to know all this stuff.
Yeah.
Um, what I just mentioned, fear paralyzes us, right?
Hmm.
So we get into this part where you start breathing through the paper bag. So I stopped her. I said, you know what? I'm going to let you know right now, like you are an analysis paralysis.
Hmm.
You are just stuck in this thing that, it's the information we can't give you right now. But what I can guarantee you is once you buy the franchise, all of these questions are going to be answered. You're going to have an onboarding coach that's literally going to ask you how much money do you want to make and tell you exactly what you need to do to be able to get to that number, help you build this business plan. But I mean, here's the thing. The thing I can guarantee is we have the people, the processes, the tools. We have everything you need to be successful. The X factor is you.
Hmm.
What are you going to put into it? What are you going to do? So I think a lot of the times with objections and people getting stuck in this,
Hmm.
it should be a tennis match. We should be serving the ball back. But I think new directors they get served the ball and then they're stuck on their side trying to keep the ball up, so it doesn't hit the ground instead of serving it back to
Hmm.
them.
Yeah.
Bring reality into it. And here's the other thing too. One of the things I learned actually at the insurance company was anticipate the objection.
Hmm. Hmm.
If you're going to anticipate that they're going to say no at some point, it won't sweep you off your feet.
Yep.
And if you have, the more that you do this, the more you're going to face every objection that's out there. I've had people before that were like, "I'm out," and
Mhm.
with whatever I told them at that point about, once again, feeding into their dreams. Why did you want to do this in the first place? Building that up, you know. then once again, the scale tips the other way. Then they should be excited about this. But just because you're bringing somebody through the process doesn't mean they're going to buy at the end. I always use the analogy of football.
Mhm.
So, football season's coming up, right? So, man, you get the ball. Every call that we do, we start on our own goal line. Every call we do gets us another first down, right? Every time they book another one, we get closer and closer. But when we get to the 20-yard line, almost ready to score, what's that called?
The red zone. Yeah.
Red zone. Is
Yeah.
it harder or easier to score once you're in the red zone?
Well, statistically, you should be scoring a lot easier, right?
Well, a lot of the times people get to that point and they kick a field goal, though, right?
It's true. Yeah, they're putting.
So it should be easier because it went smooth up to this point. But in sales, it's the same thing, man. Just because you're right at the end doesn't mean that you're going to make a sale.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of people, especially in franchise sales, that are very good at bringing people through the process. A lot of very good at bringing people to meet the team, but they don't get them across the goal line. So this arc, as you come up, I mean, for us, the meet the team is the cherry on top of the sundae.
Yeah.
Afterwards, after they meet the team, what else do you have to ask somebody besides, "Hey, ready to pay? Hey,
Mhm.
you gonna
Yeah.
pay? Hey, how's
Yeah.
financing going?" Right? It's
Yeah.
it's all of this chase and chase and chase. Part of the sales process I hate? The chase.
Yeah.
So if we're doing everything on the front end to build this up, it should be pretty easy for somebody to pay, and then the downswing is much easier.
Yeah, I've got a couple of insights on that too, because every single industry, whether you're selling franchises or you're selling, garage doors, it doesn't really matter, or insurance. They're generally speaking, you're going to find a bucket of 3 to 5 objections that everyone's going to have at some point in the
Yep.
process. And so I think it's wise, and you kind of hinted at this, but you should be anticipating those in your selling flow, and you should be addressing those in the selling process. It's just as your basic, like these milestones. You're talking about first downs. It should be part of your sales flow, and I'm sure with you it probably is because I know you're very structured and strategic.
Right.
But a lot of people, they're like, boy, I sure hope they don't get afraid of spending all the money. Like,
Right.
what the fetch? Like, of course they're going to be afraid of spending all the money. So you need to help them understand. Like, I think it's really helpful and positive to feed it to them. It's not because you want to fuel their fear, but to say, hey, I know that you're already feeling this is super
Right.
common that people feel this way. Often our people will have a concern about this. And by the way, you're normal if you like you need to substantiate that it's okay they feel that way.
Yeah.
Like they need to feel validated. You can't just like stifle it. But by minimizing the fear, sometimes it feels like you're being condescending to people in the sales flow. So you've
Yeah.
got to help. They have to confront their fear. They have to confront their concerns, and they have to solve them. You can't solve them for them. That's where I think a lot of salespeople make mistakes in the
Yeah.
flow. And same's true of FranDev. Like, oh, don't worry about that. No, don't worry about that. You say that 3 or 4 times, and someone's like, I'm out of here, chump. Like, you're not hearing me at all, right?
It's funny you mentioned that. So, our brains cannot, they don't, it doesn't register the don't.
Hmm.
So if I went to you and said, "Dave, don't think of an elephant," what are you doing? Elephant, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of the same thing. You ski,
Hmm.
and if you're going down the hill and you're like, "Don't hit a tree, don't hit a tree, don't hit a tree," what
Keep
are you
going,
going to
right?
do?
Yeah.
Right. So it's follow the path, right? So, if it's like, "Don't worry about that," what are they going to do? They're going to worry about it even more. Or it's going to be like, "Well, what are you hiding?"
Hmm.
Right? Then this fear, doesn't move on to this, unlogical thing. Now it's like, now they're focusing it on what's wrong with the brand. Why are you not giving me this information? Right. So, getting ahead of it is definitely a great way to be able to make sure that you're not stepping in potholes. Because that's another thing too.
Hmm.
A lot of the worries and a lot of the concerns that some people have, we put them there. So, I've been guilty of this myself. When I first started, was like, I would get off a call with someone and be like, "This lady's crazy. Oh my God, she went in so many different side things, right?" I listened to the call, then I realized, no, it's me. I took her by the hand and led her right into there. And she was
Uh-huh.
like, "Oh yeah, what about that?" Right? So there's a lot of the times that, we are our worst enemy because you know what? We don't know when to shut up. You know,
There.
we salespeople like to talk. I am definitely bull in a china shop when it comes to talking about a subject, right?
Yeah.
So there's one other quote that I absolutely love when it comes to fear that I just heard a couple months ago is fear is a mile wide and an inch deep.
Mm-hmm.
So think about that. Think if you're standing on the, at the shore's edge and everything you want is a mile across the way. You can see it. And imagine, so with water, we all know it usually gets deeper in the middle, right? So a lot of people are thinking, am I going to survive it? Is it too deep? And can I swim that far?
Hmm.
But imagine if I told you that, you can run right across the water and it won't go up any higher than your ankles. How fast would you go towards whatever you're looking for?
Yeah.
That's what
Fast.
it's all about,
Right.
And when for us, we're not even talking about prospects anymore. Let's talk about us because a lot of I mean, what we do, we can make the thing I love about sales, we write our own paycheck, right? We can make it much or little as we want, depending on the actions that we do.
Right.
I tell my team all the time, listen, there's two things you can control in the sales world. It's your attitude and your activities.
Hmm.
Attitude and activities are the only thing you have control over. And there's a reason attitude is first. The Zig Ziglar calls it stinking thinking, right? Where you get into this rut that it's the leads and it's the prospects and it's all of these other outside factors.
Hmm.
No, if you really look, it's you. So one of the things that I've experienced through my career is when you are going towards your goals, there's three different things that you're going to fall into. If your goals in front of you, you're either going to be meh. Those are the people that just don't care. They
Hmm.
got a goal out there. It doesn't mean anything to them. They're just coming to work every day, 9 to 5. If they sell something, they sell something.
Right.
There's nothing else behind it. Hopefully something falls in their lap.
Right.
There's excited, which is the middle column. Excited means that, they've got a plan. They're executing their plan. Every day they come, they're chipping it away at it, and they are doing all of the right things.
Hmm.
And then even on top of that, there's the difference between being excited and having a burning desire,
Yeah. True.
right? Desire, I will run through walls to get to exactly what I want. And then there's fear.
Hmm.
The fear side is mostly because you're going to lose something,
Yeah.
right? You're going to lose your job. You're going to lose the deal. You're going to lose money. You might lose your family. you know,
Mhm. Yeah.
it's that fear of, oh my God, I have to get something. Now that salesperson that's desperate to get something, a lot of the things go out the window that we would normally do, right? If they need to make a sale or they're gonna lose their job, they're no longer guiding somebody through. Now they're pushing them.
Yep.
No prospects like to be pushed.
No. Well, and it's funny because these same things we're talking about with prospects, right? They're the same things that exist within our people and ourselves. Like
Yep.
I think that the more we can confront our personal fears in this process, then we can start to understand how other people operate, right? We have to recognize, like, I'm doing this out of fear right now. I'm doing
Right.
this because I'm afraid to lose a deal. So I'm desperately flailing. And I, I've seen it in my own team. I've seen it in my own friends. Like I've seen it all over the place. I'm like, dude, you're struggling right now and it's showing and it's because you're afraid of something. I don't know what you're afraid of, but clearly fear is driving your behavior right
Right.
now. You see it in the marketplace. You see it in with the stock market sometimes. I mean, a lot of what drives and motivates these crazy surges and falls that we see in the marketplace is all fear.
Right.
So how do we live beyond that personally? And if we as the salespeople drive in the driver's seat have overcome that fear and we're living in a place of real internal harmony as we're making decisions and helping people find and buy franchises. I think that that's a layer of control we have to put in place first. And how do you do that with your team? Like how do you help your team? Have you any experience with that, Jim?
Yeah. I mean, well, once again, it's identifying it. I mean, the hardest person to be able to point a finger at is yourself.
Yeah.
Hardest thing to do is look in the mirror and like, wow, I'm acting like an idiot right now, right? Or there's something wrong with me. Our parents always tell us, "Oh, you're a shining star." So we always have this idea as you're growing up that there's nothing wrong with me. It's the outside world
Yeah.
that's affected. One of the things in self development is, it's you can say this about yourself. You can say this about a prospect. It's not buying the BS.
Hmm.
If this is really what you want, then what are you going to do to get yourself there?
Hmm.
Because if you believe in law of attraction, whatever you put out responds back to you,
Hmm.
right? Positive or negative. So if you're putting negative things out, guess what? Negative things are going to start coming back to you. Putting positive things out, the universe will line itself up to give you exactly what you're looking for, and put whatever tag you want on it. Every time I talk about law of attraction, it's God, your whole guardian angel, it's the universe, whatever. I always talk in general terms, but
Right.
whatever you believe in, there's something there, right? There's
Hmm.
something that's going to be able to get you to what you're going towards, especially if you have that burning desire for it. It's real in your mind, you know. Um, and when it comes to a prospect, Zig Ziglar talks about empathy and sympathy.
Hmm.
So when they're giving you those objections, right, there's a difference between empathy and sympathy in this.
Hmm.
Empathy, if somebody's like, you know, this is really a lot of money. Okay. Empathy would be like, yeah, it's kind of expensive and you got a lot of things going on. So call me back in 6 months. So I'm sorry, that's sympathy.
Sympathy, yeah.
Empathy would be working with them on saying, listen, it might be a lot of money now, but think of what the reward's going to be. Think about how that's going to be able to change your life and change your family. What are the pros that are going to come out of this once you work this plan? You know, and it's changing their mindset towards the fear to what's possible, right? Sympathy is going along with them. Empathy is helping them solve the problem. And what do you think they're going to be more appreciative of?
Empathy every
The
time.
empathy side of it, right?
Yeah,
Helping
always.
them, you know, be able to be that guide, which is what they're expecting you to do. You know, you go to a doctor after a diagnosis because you're trusting that professional, right?
Hmm.
You're trusting their guidance, their information, their expertise to be able to get you the care that you need to be able to overcome whatever you're facing.
Hmm.
Same thing
Right.
here,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of the times, even with us, we're stuck here. We need to move ourselves here. You know, there's a difference with some, you know, when people start out, new directors start out, they're learning the terms and conditions, but they're not in love with the brand yet,
Hmm.
you
Right.
know? So magic happens as soon as it's like, you know, you can talk about this in your sleep, but there's a difference between your talking about the business and being able to deliver the message on the business. You know, I
Yeah.
always use Martin Luther King as an example on this of like, you want to talk about somebody to deliver a message? I mean, what's the famous speech we always think of?
I dreamed a dream, right? I had a
Yeah,
dream.
you know, it's is
I have a dream that one day my little children will walk
yeah,
in.
no, it says I have a dream speech, right?
Yeah.
So, but I mean, do you know why it wasn't I have a plan speech? Think about it, because that
Yeah.
makes more sense. I got a plan of how we can get exactly what we're looking to do, because nobody remembers the plan; they remember the dream.
Yeah.
And his being able to deliver that message and be able to really talk about, you know, what's important itself and not the terms and conditions of how we're going to do it, that's why we remember that speech. And if there was anybody else that was delivering that message besides him, probably wouldn't be remembered in time. It'd just be another speech that some other leader gave,
Well,
right?
Malcolm X didn't give that speech, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was
Right.
the
So
man with the,
once
man with
again,
the plan. Yeah, but
but it's the same thing with us. You know what I mean? We're not just we're you know is a difference in sales about, you know, just giving the terms and conditions and delivering the message,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And once you can turn it from the T's and C's to, man, I love this brand. And you know what? Enthusiasm is contagious.
Mhm.
So everything I say about it, it's going to come out and energy is going to flow through that Zoom call. And these people by the end of it will be even more excited than they were before. And that excitement's going to carry.
Yeah.
Can't wait for the next call to come. Because I mean, if we're, I mentioned before, this is an interview process, right?
Right.
So if I was going to tell you, Dave, you're going to be interviewing for a job that's going to change your life. It's going to allow you to be able to make as much money as you want to make, hit every goal you have, and have a better life for your family. Are you ever missing one of those interviews?
No.
Are you ever showing up late for one of those interviews?
No, unless you're afraid. Unless you're afraid and then you don't show up.
That's where it starts coming in. So
Yeah.
you see that, you know, this pattern, right? There's show, you know, I'll give somebody the benefit of the doubt if it happens once or twice. Life happens, you know,
Mhm.
people get sick, things happen, work happens. But man, if it keeps on rolling like this, you know, you got to stop. And you also have to be able to be comfortable in telling somebody no. The takeaway is incredible. You know, being able to say, you know what, you got a lot of things going on right now. This probably isn't the best time to look at a business. So I'm going to close your file,
Mhm.
deal with what you're dealing with right now, and then call me when you're ready. And most times that call doesn't happen. But
Yeah.
you got to be able, I mean, the one thing that we don't have as salespeople is time,
Mhm.
right? That's a commodity we don't have. So especially if our calendar starts filling up where we're doing back-to-back meetings,
Right.
man, if somebody books an appointment with me that I can put somebody else in there, they don't show up, and pitchforks and torches, right? So you get so mad because like, oh, I could have put somebody else there because now this person's wasting my time,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah. And there's a fine line there, right? Like you get to the point where you have an abundance like that and your meetings back to back, and I appreciate that we're both there, right?
Yeah,
And yet, I guess at that point, you're no longer operating out of a position of fear either. As a salesperson, you realize that I'm not afraid for my next opportunity, my next deal, my next whatever. That's actually, if you can get your whole team into that zone, it
yep,
changes the mindset rather than the person that's got two appointments all week and they're afraid, like they're really
yeah. I have to
scrambling.
get something,
Yeah.
right? And now
So
you're forcing somebody through the process that,
yeah.
you meet that person at the end, you're like, this person's not buying in any way, shape, or form. They'll do a meeting with you.
Hmm.
They'll get the information and still kicking tires, but are they ready to make a decision, right? It's kind
Yeah.
of like I always use the analogy also with this process of window shopping. Have you ever
Hmm.
walked by a store that you looked in the window, you're like, ooh, got some nice stuff in here, right?
Hmm.
And you look it in the store from the outside, that's them, looking in the beginning at your brand. Something caught their eye and they submitted a form.
Yeah.
As you start doing the intro call and start taking them through the education, now they're inside. Now they're looking. Now they're looking
Mhm.
through the racks. Now they're grabbing stuff and put it on their arm. When you
Yeah.
start doing territory and FTD calls, now they're trying the stuff on, seeing how it fits,
Hmm.
seeing if they like it and if it looks good on them, right? Well, when you get to like validation and having them meet the team, they're in line.
Hmm.
This is where a lot of the fear starts creeping in on, oh my God, do I need all these pair of pants? They start adding it up, right? It becomes real to them till after the brand visit, and they're holding their credit card in their hand where they got to swipe. That's where all the agita starts coming through. That's why people lose people at like FTD call or validation. People just gone in the wind
Hmm.
because we didn't do a good enough job on the front end to be able to tell them, man, that looks phenomenal on you.
Hmm.
That combination's amazing.
Yeah.
You have to wear that out tonight, right?
Yep.
And
Or
giving him
or
the
or or that looks terrible on you. It's a
yeah,
bad cut.
right.
This isn't a good fit, right? Yeah. Either way. Either way.
Yeah. Let's
Yeah.
just be real with them. That's what people want, right? Nobody wants to feel like that they've been bamboozled. Salespeople have a bad enough rap as it is, with in the mindset of most people. People coming in already have the guard up. To lower that guard down to where they're actually listening to you is a skill set all in its own, and it's a
Mhm.
totally different podcast to dive
Yeah.
into that. I'll be able to relieve some of that. But I
Totally.
mean, most people have that fear coming in, and our job as influencers is to give them enough um, feel good about it. At the end of
Hmm.
each call, they should feel better. When I ask people, I'm like, to make a decision on something, or if I want their opinion on something, I'll ask them, how do you feel about that?
Hmm.
I won't ask them what they think about it because I don't want
Hmm.
them to be up here. I want
Yeah.
them here, right? I got to keep them here. So, and if
Good
the
point.
more you're able to keep
Mhm.
them here and out of their own head, less of that fear is going to creep in.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. Jim, this has been fantastic. I think we could probably keep going for quite a while. Um, so tell me if somebody wanted to reach out to you because they're like, I'm struggling with this with some of my candidates. I need some help or some advice, or I'd love to pick your brain about how to help my people overcome fear. What's the best way for somebody to reach out to you?
Yeah, I'm really active on LinkedIn. So anybody that's listening to this, please find me on LinkedIn. I've got like 3,000 people I'm connected with, so it should be pretty easy to find.
Hmm.
I actually Googled myself the other night, and I actually come up on the first page of Google, so that's
Nice.
pretty exciting. But also my email address is the letter J Stapleton, Stapleton at caringtransitions.com. So anybody can drop me an email, and I'd love taking people. I love talking sales. Me and my best friend, this is like what we do when when we're together, as we talk about different sales things that have happened and the successes we had. So yeah, I mean, anybody that's interested, connect with me, and let's have a conversation.
Good. Love it. Jim, thanks so much for your help. I appreciate you taking some time away from your role at Caring Transitions to give us some knowledge. And best of luck to you and the team as you keep growing.
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate it. Thanks, Dave.